Some techniques have been banned in combat sports for being too dangerous, but in the street, you have more to worry about than losing a few points. But what if I told you the reason that one move in particular is illegal in competition has nothing to do with life or death, but instead making more money? Well, that's what I'm telling you. So let's talk about the single most effective technique from any striking art for self-defense or otherwise. Now, before you start screaming out, "Get him in the balls," eyes, or otherwise, that's kind of like saying, "Oh, I'll see red," right? "Oh, I'll just kick him in the balls." Well, I've been kicked in the groin many times in sparring and still had to continue fighting. So, in my experience, pain compliance is a lot closer to fantasy reliance. Huh? Where, you kick this guy in the balls and then we get a real nice close-up shot of before comically collapsing to his knees. Right. Forget the Hollywood horseshit. We need maximum efficacy and utility. Brutal, direct damage that can stop a fight, whether sanctioned or not, in a second. That technique is the elbow. Hijiate or empiuchi. Now I can already hear the stampede in the comments. But what about Muay Thai? But Lethwei? But Kudo? There are some obvious exceptions to the rule, but even in kickboxing and MMA, it is only sometimes legal. It's super dangerous, but that's not really why it's illegal. For most traditional martial arts, it's something that is forbidden, despite being everywhere in the kata. From the most basic heian forms, it's all over old school styles like Goju-ryu, also kata like Naihanchi, Basai-dai, Chatinara-kusanku. But it is rarely, if ever, practiced. But why? The first and biggest reason the elbow is king is because it's simple. A lot simpler than most punches, right? Palm up, palm down, vertical, over-rotated maybe, hyperextension risk. The elbow is a far more powerful one-shot technique than most punches, which may require a combination for maximum effectiveness. With the elbow, precision helps, but it's not really required. Ask yourself this: would you rather take a right cross to the face or the people's elbow? Your technique is only as strong as the weakest joint involved. By choosing the elbow over a punch, you remove all of these little spots where force can be lost or misdirected. It's the reason shin kicks hit harder than snapping foot techniques, the end of a baseball bat, or the tip of a whip. A big consideration, particularly for self-defense, is that elbows do not require the years of conditioning that knuckles do in order to prevent injury to the user, let alone the opponent. Case in point, one of my senseis, after decades of training and conditioning his knuckles, was robbed. He chased the man out of the dojo and threw the first punch he ever had to in a real-life situation. He broke his hand. And that's with the conditioning. There's actually a fracture named after boxer's knuckles. But the elbow is very hard to break, and yet still has a very sharp point that allows you to focus all of your energy into a single spot. All our striking techniques can also be used defensively to aggressively block punches and break hands. It's a core principle of the 52 block system, a fighting style developed and popularized in prison. Now, I've broken people's knuckles and toes blocking with my elbows, and it really disincentivized them from throwing that same technique again. Punches are like spears, more difficult to use the closer your opponent gets to you. Elbows also have the added advantage of being able to fire from more angles than a looping or straight punch, making it more applicable to a broader range of situations. In the rock, paper, scissors game of fighting, elbow beats hand and foot. Because we have these angles, elbows are very easy to use in hand fighting or the clinch, plugging directly into climbing techniques while also leaving your hands open for grappling. In the kata kururunfa, we open with a grip-breaking technique using the elbow. Not a strike, but very useful. You have more strength and leverage the closer your connection point is to your core. Elbows lead directly into frames, an important concept in Krav Maga for grappling, striking, even weapon disarms. Posting up against your opponent with a frame not only gives you space to work, but also lets you more easily read and control his movement. Not only that, you can also leverage your body weight into a grinding, gnashing point. Very effective against eyes, ribs, and internal organs. These are all great reasons to use the elbow, but not why it's usually illegal. The single biggest reason the elbow is banned in competition is it'll cut a bitch. I don't carry a knife, because like Wolverine, I'm packing blades in my bones, baby. And so are you. That's right, straight out of an anime, you can literally draw your monogram on your opponent's face, like Zorro. The blood loss won't be fatal, but slicing someone's forehead will blind them with their own blood, which has ended many professional fights for that reason alone. You have the power to literally remove their primary sense of the world. You can do this with your knuckles, as seen in bare-knuckle boxing, but it requires a lot more precision and force. Technically speaking, we're not literally cutting the skin, but the proximity of skin to bone in the skull means the concentrated force in the tip of the elbow will rip and tear the skin apart. Honestly, the ban more often has to do with optics than anything else. In traditional martial arts, the blood really stands out on the white uniforms and can be considered dirty, immoral, or disrespectful. I guess maybe a biohazard, technically. Most karate dojos prefer a wholesome, clean, curated look to the style to keep it the most broadly marketable. Most parents are not going to take their kids back to the dojo if they come home with their face opened up, and that prospect is going to keep a lot of people from practicing elbows. But in doing so, they will be leaving one of their most powerful weapons on the table. I urge you not to do the same, particularly when it matters most. おし。どうもありがとうございました。Thank you. We'll see you next time.